This podcast is intended for an adult audience over the age of 18. It contains explicit language and sexual situations. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed belong to us and are not representative of any employer, organization, or other individual. We are not experts. This podcast is not intended to be taken as professional advice.
Welcome.
Our safe word is pineapples.
I'm Dan.
I'm Sue.
Come with us as we navigate the lifestyle,
discover kinks,
and share what we've learned along the way. Well, welcome back. It's our third episode. Before we get started, I'd like to send a thank you out to Cake and Lingerie on FetLife.com. She's awesome, and she designed our logo for us. So if you happen to be on FetLife and want to give her a shout out, that'd be awesome. Now, last week we talked about this being a difficult episode. This is actually going to be a two-part episode. And it's something that we feel needs to get out there for the community. And it's something I feel that gets glossed over a lot when people talk about non-monogamy and how to navigate that. Now, what we're going to talk about, it basically deals with me cheating on Sue at one point. And what I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to be looking for any sort of excuses or any sort of anything that's going to say that what I did was right. I know it wasn't right, but I'd like to give context.
Yes.
To how that came about. What happened was at the time, God, we were still young. We were mid-20s.
27 or so? So yeah, about 27. I was, so that make you about 25.
Yeah, 25. I was about 25. Sue,
when we started swinging.
When we started swinging. Sue was, at that point, my only second major sexual partner I'd ever had. I was still in school. I was working.
No, you had graduated by that point.
Had I graduated at that point?
Yes, you had graduated at that point.
Well, before that, what I'm saying is that when we got together, I was still in school. We had children very young. I was 19 when you got pregnant with our first child. And then essentially you were pregnant up until that point. You had been pregnant with 2 other kids at that point.
Yeah, the quick succession. Of pregnancies.
We have Irish twins. It was a lot. So there was that. Money was very tight. I was in school. I was working part-time. I had been fired from one of my jobs for stupid reasons that actually had nothing to do with me, but
or your ability to do the job.
Or my ability to do the job. So there was that going into it. That's the thing I was talking to you a little bit about, and I've talked to other people who've gone through similar things, is the notion that someone would be tempted to cheat, or like a relationship would break down in some way, doesn't happen overnight.
No. It's
not one day you wait, everything's fine, everything's going great, and the next day it's over. That's not how it happens. It's a buildup of a lot of things, and neither of us really. I didn't have much of a support system outside of you,
right?
And I was still learning about how to read you. It wasn't something that I really knew how to handle. You are an awesome enigma. I love you so much, but there was a lot going on with that. And I've always felt, from the moment I was with you, that I've always felt inadequate. I'm gradually getting to feel less inadequate now, but I've always felt inadequate. I've always felt that I didn't deserve you. You were much more than me. So this piled onto still being in school, and I had to quit working completely, and you put me through school,
Yeah,
through
I did.
college, and that was tough. That was hard for both of us.
It
But we
was.
did it.
We did.
So here I am now. I'm not making any money. You're supporting us almost entirely. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Really, I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like this stupidly, and a lot of people who are young when this happens, I felt like because you were only the second sexual partner that I had, that second major sexual partner I had, that I was missing out on something. I don't even know what, but I was missing out on my glory years. Like, these are my college years. These are when you're supposed to be having wild and crazy fun, and here I am, 3 kids and a wife, and barely scraping by with money. And that's where the seeds of it started, and a lot of it just came down to non-communication. I wasn't communicating with you at all.
I was struggling
You were struggling with,
to communicate. Communication is a struggle for me.
It is. That's one of the reasons why now I handle most of the initial, if not all the initial communication with anyone that we talk to. And I'm the first barrier.
Yes. And a lot of that also has to go, as far as you handling the initial communication, is, again, because of the content that we put out, people do perceive us in a certain way. And if they contact me with those misconceptions.
Oh, God. Yeah. No. You'd shut it down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It would be an immediate shutdown. We would never have met half the people that we played with and had amazing times with if it was going, the first person that came up to you and talked about how sexy, we'd be like, nope, no, it's done. Nope, not happening. We are done. We finished this. But so there was all that going on with me, and trying to wrestle with being an adult, because when you're a kid and you're in school and everything like that, there's no, they keep telling you, oh, we're preparing you to be an adult, we're preparing you to be an adult, and that is something that one day you wake up and you're an adult.
There is no preparation.
There's no preparation for that. You're a kid one day and you have very few problems or cares in the world. Next thing, you have 3 kids, you're married, you're barely scraping by, you're still trying to get through school just to get a degree. And that's also when we started having your issues with.
Well, my issues were always in the background, all like the entire time we were together. Because, so as someone who is demisexual, I don't experience arousal in the same way that everyone else does. I understand it is a thing that a majority of people can look at someone and be aroused because that person is hot and they can imagine having sex with them. My brain can't make that connection.
Well, you can make it with me, but that's because you know what sex with me is like. So.
I know what sex with you is.
It's not really imagining.
There is the connection already existing between us. So there's still this part of my mind that's blown that it's not normal for everyone else to want to seek out a connection first. That sex can occur without it. Still, even like I understand. It's just there's still
Well,
that part of my mind that gets a little blown by that.
well, actually, being with you, and going through this with you, I've actually uh, come to more enjoy having that connection more. I feel things are better when you have a connection, and that's kind of an inadvertent
Right.
side effect of
Right? Being with a demisexual.
surprise. This is
But
fun.
I also another like aspect of it is I'm more often than not I am not aroused in my daily life. So of the two of us, you feel arousal more frequently
Oh yeah,
than I do. So like
I
when the
do.
actual like sex happens, I do have a more than healthy sex drive.
Yeah, but for anyone
But
who's actually met us in person, even for like the getting ready to play, you're usually very quiet. You're very reserved and very quiet, and then it takes you a while, but then you will open up. And if you've decided that yes, these are people we're gonna have sex with, once you get to the sex, it's a completely different woman. You are a completely different woman at
yeah,
that point.
yes. But when we were first together, and again as we were starting out into like swinging, the differences between how we experienced arousal and the fact that I have a very hard time explaining what I'm feeling. I frequently have no idea what I'm feeling. Caused a lot of communication complications for
Yes.
us. And
Then the worst thing that really
and
we went from having sex like all the time to then once a week, then once every couple of weeks, and then once a month, and that was because of your allergies. That's
right. And again, so that was in the background the entire time. So before you, I really, even though like I did have more technically more sexual partners than you, I wasn't having sex with them all that often. So when we got together, we had a lot more sex. And then I discovered that I was allergic to latex because more sex means more condoms.
yep.
Your condoms aren't supposed to hurt you.
You or me. That's supposed to hurt either of us.
Right? Using a condom shouldn't hurt.
One would hope.
One would hope. So,
Well, I understand you're also allergic to some spermicides too. So
yes,
there's
I'm allergic, right? I'm allergic to some spermicides. I'm
condoms,
allergic
spermicides.
to a majority of over the counter lubes. I am allergic to many soaps.
Well, like loops at the time, there was like Astroglide and KY. Like that's all I knew about. I didn't know about. They didn't have any like hypoallergenic or anything like that. It was like you got Astroglide.
I
or
can't
you
even
got
use the
KY.
hypoallergenic ones though.
No, you can't. We've had to go to coconut oil, like pretty much pure coconut oil now, because it's the only thing that doesn't cause a reaction to you. But then you got soaps, which
Mm-hmm.
there's vaginal washes and stuff that you do.
And
You've
then
never douched, thank God. Like, please don't douche.
no.
It's not good for.
I have no desire to shoot vinegar up my vagina. I am I am not a pickle. That's not that's not how it's not something you that it does not belong up there. Right?
Maybe that's where dildo comes from. Like just the term dildo, because you're a pickle.
Anyway. Anyway.
No.
Steering this ship back onto course.
Okay.
Before we got together, I had made the very obvious connection that I could not swallow when giving someone a blowjob because I did do it for one of my boyfriends, and the pain was immediate, intense burning, and then my throat hurt for an entire week afterwards.
That's rough.
So the connection was very obvious that I could not swallow. At no point did my brain go, probably shouldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's and I think you told me this story too, and my brain was just not in a place to go, let's make that connection too. Sure.
Right? Probably doesn't belong anywhere else.
So you ended up, because I was coming inside of you because we weren't using condoms because we couldn't, hence 4 kids, but we weren't using condoms because condoms hurt you. So we knew that. We know this. We got
knew
this
that.
down.
But getting our hands on non-latex condoms was not as easy as it is today.
It was not as easy.
So we were actively looking for them.
We were, and at the same time, I'm still not comfortable with a sheep's intestine on my dick.
And sheepskin is nowhere near as effective
as I don't want anything to do it. I can't.
A synthetic condom. So
it doesn't even the thought of it does not give me an erection. Like, it would cause any sort of erection I had just go, no. This is not happening. So we're just like, we'll just come inside you. No problem. That's when you had the problems. That's when.
So what I have learned about my semen allergies, one, it is a localized allergy. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't affect my entire body. It only affects the portion that it's touching. Mm-hmm. So
which internally is.
Right. Internally was my vagina. And the symptoms are incredibly similar to that of a yeast infection. And I was going to the doctors.
Yes.
Throughout this entire time, from like my pregnancy with our oldest, like straight through, constantly going in and telling them that like something was wrong, and it was just getting worse every time. And they were checking me for yeast infections and I didn't have them. They were checking me for various STIs and I didn't have any. They considered vaginitis, but the symptoms weren't quite right. They were trying to take everything off the table, and for the life of them, they could not. It's so rare that it's just not something that the doctors consider a possibility when they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you.
Yeah, so I mean, the way you dealt with that was, I knew you were in pain. I was very selfish at the time, but then it was hitting my insecurities where, again, and you know this, I told you for the longest time, I always thought that you were going to leave me at any moment. Like, I thought, this is it. There's some moment you're going to leave me. It's just going to happen. So when you started pulling away from me because you were in pain, my mind told me that it was me. There was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with you. There was something wrong with me, and you were not manifesting the pain, but like your body was reacting to me in a negative way. It didn't want me, which technically is true.
Didn't want a specific part of you. Didn't want a specific part of you.
Yeah, but we didn't know that.
No.
So
we were stupid.
This combined with raising kids, and we ended up at one point we moved away from where we live now, and then we were into driving long distances. I got a full-time job that was not. I had a full-time job that paid me $400 a week before taxes.
Yeah.
And that was barely enough, and I was working, God, so many hours. I was so tired that I was coming home and falling asleep. Like, I would eat and go to bed because that's all I could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially as like the company would started scheduled overtime.
And they scheduled me 6 days a week. I was working 6 days a week, 9 hours a day.
At minimum 9 hours
minimum,
a day.
And so that combined with what I felt you pulling back from me, and it was a lot to deal with, and we weren't communicating. We didn't talk to each other about this stuff the way we should have been talking to each other about it.
No.
So that leads us up to essentially the swinging. Like, we got into swinging. Now, we didn't get into swinging like some people. I've talked to people, they believe we got into swinging to fix it. We didn't. Like, we got into swinging because we both wanted to get into swinging. It wasn't to try to fix any issues that we had or anything like that. We wanted to get into swinging because it was something we enjoyed. And that was essentially, I think when we started off, it was kind of like our escape from stuff.
Yes. Yes, it definitely was.
It was an escape from our lives that were slowly going down the drain in various ways that we couldn't fix, and we kept trying, but we could not fix them. So we met our couples, and that first couple, the black couple, was awesome, and we were working with them, and then that fell apart, and that was okay. And then we met the other couple, and that's the couple that we thought we were working really well with, but they had their cracks. And we talked about this last time. They had their cracks and we had our cracks at the same time, and neither of us were dealing with those the way we should have been dealing with them.
Correct.
At all. So what happened was, now this is something I advocate against now for a lot of people, but she contacted me first separately, and just started heaping praise on me. Really was like, she was giving me the attention that I thought I wasn't getting from you. In actuality, the attention was there from you. I just wasn't recognizing it. But, I mean, that's all on me. So she was heaping all this praise on me, and you were friends with her, so
yeah,
it wasn't like, you know,
we went out and we did things together. We were bonding over books.
You were bonding over a lot of things, books and stuff like that. But there was one time she had asked me to help her set up a separate profile on SLS just for her.
Yes.
Nowadays, if we ever had a couple that did that, immediate red flags. I would, you know, my warnings would be going off now. Something's not right.
Yes. Yeah. And
but at the time, I was so enamored with, I got caught up in having someone else tell me I had value. I didn't have that a lot growing up. Like, growing up and how I was raised, I was never the favorite. I didn't have someone telling me that I had value. Aside from, oh, you're smart, yay, you can do stuff, we don't have to worry about you. We have the oldest, they have to have all this attention, and then the youngest, they have to have all this attention. You're the middle one, so we don't have to worry about you at all. You're good. And I didn't have that reassurance at all. Not to mention, my mom was constantly trying to catch me being gay. There was that too. All the time.
Yeah, it was a little...
I see you're wearing a shirt. Are you gay? I like this shirt. It's a nice shirt. that was my childhood. That's what I was dealing with. So I had everything piled up on me, and I was going through depression, and I didn't have the support from you, and it wasn't for your fault. It wasn't a lack of you giving me support. It was I wasn't recognizing when you did give me the support. So she's heaping this praise on me. And I told you about the page.
Yes.
You knew about that stuff.
I knew that was going to be happening. I also knew why she was doing it. Again, things we had discussed. I was aware that she and her husband weren't quite on the same page in what they were looking for from swinging.
So it's a red flag that you should have recognized as well too. Because she came to me. She didn't come to both of us, as far as I know.
No,
she came
she
solely
only,
to me.
She came
so,
solely
yeah,
to you.
That's the red flag right there. Not the whole like.
I was not that's the fact that I was aware of why she was doing it, but yeah, no, she came solely to you, and you and I discussed what would be acceptable when she came over.
Yes,
and there was the very clear line of you could do pretty much anything, but I didn't want you to come.
Yes, and that's the line I broke.
Yes,
and when you got home that day, I lied to you about it. I did lie to you about it. And the reason I lied to you about it was I was 100% terrified that you were going to leave me immediately. Like you were going to come home and I was going to tell you and you were going to pack up right then and there and just go and just leave me. Because that is something that I had constantly played over in my mind all the time. That scenario, that exact scenario for various things. It didn't matter what. Like, I was imagining that like I didn't take out the trash today, and you were gonna like that's it. That's my breaking point. Like I'm packing up now and leave. So it had played out hundreds of times in my mind. And I lied to you about it.
I had to make you tell me the truth.
You did.
Because I already knew.
And then I did tell you the truth. It took some time. I did tell you the truth. And then it was a long period of you pulled away. And then what happens for me is when I get depressed and I get upset, it will build up to a point, and then I get angry. I get mad. I grew up having issues with anger, which I've since worked a lot on over the years. I worked a lot on that. That actually, unfortunately, didn't start with you. That started with our kids, because what happened was I was taking out all my frustrations, all my emotions that I didn't know what to do with them. I took them out on you and the kids. And it's not something I'm proud of. I'm very happy that I was able to recognize that, at least with the kids, before I did any damage, hopefully any damage to them psychologically. I did grow up in a household, and just like many millennials, we grew up in the household where spankings and belts and punishments like that were the norm. That's how you got punished growing up, and I took that as this is how you parent, this is how you discipline your kids, and I stopped that the day that I realized that when I rose my hand to one of our kids for a punishment and they cowered away from me. And at that moment, I realized I did not want my kids to be afraid of me. There's a difference between fear and respect, and I wanted my kids to respect me, not fear me. So I was able to work on that for the kids, but I don't know why, but there was a block with you. I couldn't work on it with you. Maybe because I didn't know how to. Again, I didn't have anyone to go to. I couldn't go to my parents. I couldn't go to your mom. I was not your mom's first choice for you. So I was already feeling that, you know.
Right, which she is long gone over.
She's long gone over. I am definitely a favorite now. At the time, I was not. Like she was one step away from like, are you sure you really want to marry him? Because I'm sure your other boyfriend could possibly be available at some point too. So yeah, so that did not help with my depression at all. But what we did, we stepped back a lot.
We did.
We had to. There was,
We had to, and we recognize that, and I think that's been very important for us, is that we have recognized when we do have these problems that we need.
even in our lowest time, and I thought this was my lowest time. Little did I know. That's next episode. But I thought this was low, but we still recognize we need to step back. I believe we still kept playing with my best friend at the time. I don't remember. I mean, it's been 12 years, so.
Well, I mean, not right away.
Not right away,
because I
no.
was also pregnant at the
You
time.
were pregnant at the time. You were. God, you were pregnant with our daughter? Yeah,
Yes,
so you were,
I was pregnant with
our last child.
our last child. But I do believe we did for like afterwards.
We did afterwards. We
Yes.
definitely did afterwards, but
But we stepped back from meeting anybody new or actively looking for other couples.
so throughout this time, also, I'd made a friend at work before I quit, and she was into non-monogamy. She had some non-monogamous relationships, and we talked and discussed things at work, and she became someone I could talk to about things. I really wasn't working through anything, but I was just talking to her. And she became a good friend of ours. She's still a good friend of ours, even though she doesn't live anywhere near us. And when our daughter was born, you were in the hospital. She came up to help out. And that night, I got super high with her because she recognized that there was problems. She was able to say, what's wrong? What's going on here? Let's get super high. And when I get inebriated, I talk.
Yes, you do.
I talk a lot. And it just all comes out. So I got high with her, and it was like a flood. It all came out of me. Everything came out of me. All the problems we were having together, the cheating, how I thought you were going to leave me at some point, and how I felt like shit, how horrible I was. And I thought that by doing that, and this is probably also because I was not fully sober, but I thought that by doing that, by letting all of that out and getting it out of me, that I had worked through it. But that wasn't exactly the case. What I had actually done was I had kind of opened the door inside of me to let that out, and then I put it into another door. I just kind of, I said, you're going to go over here, and we're just going to put you over here for now. And then, again, we took about a 3-year break.
We took about a 3-year break.
Because life happened. We had 4 kids now. I was working on, I had just gotten a new job. So I was now working a new job. That was to get more money. So we were trying to fix our finances, start actually paying for stuff with the kids. And
You weren't making more money. You were making less. We were making less at that time.
no, when Paige was born. Oh yeah, that's right.
When
No,
Paige
sorry,
was born, you
I'm
were
a year
making-
off. I apologize. A year later, I got a new job and I was making more money. Yeah, see, everything is just a blur at this point. But yeah, we just essentially tried to fix our lives, but still we weren't fully communicating either. But we thought we were. At least I thought I was. I thought I was talking to you, but I was still, I don't know, being in the lifestyle and being able to share you with others. I got wrapped up in that. I got like a drug actually. It was something that I craved and I was doing all wrong, and I started seeing people as sexual objects, and that was always on my mind all the time. And even for you, I saw you
Mm-hmm.
more as just a sexual object and not Sue,
Mm-hmm.
my gorgeous, lovely, amazing wife. So I wasn't working through anything. I just put it aside, and you were busy with jobs and parenting and all that stuff. And that's pretty much where we ended up before we attempted to start it back up again, which was 3 years later.
Which is when we're gonna pick up with the
Yeah,
next episode.
we'll pick that up next episode because that's going to be a even worse episode for me. It was the lowest point I've ever gotten to in my life, and it's going to be hard for me to deal with that and talk about that. But I want to talk about that. I want to showcase that even when you can get to the lowest point, even when it does hurt the most, and you think you've hit rock bottom, you can still come back, and you can still fix things
Mm-hmm.
and make it right. So, um, thank you very much for listening to this episode, and we will hopefully you'll listen to us again for the next episode, the conclusion of our trauma and pain. And I swear after this, it's going to be a lot better. We're going to get into the happier and the more fun times. But we will get that out as soon as possible. It may be a little later because we are going on vacation briefly with our kids for this weekend. So we will get it out next week, but it may be a little bit later than normal. But we will see you, or hopefully we'll be back and you'll be back with us next time.